Hello everyone and welcome back to HJW Gaming and a continuation of my counter series. This time we're going to be focusing on a unit rather than a commander, and this unit is going to be the Mumakil. I often play through early seasons like season 1 and 2 during my breaks in Bag End, and one question I see so commonly asked is how to counter the Mumakil. In these early seasons, the Mumaks can be an absolute terror due to their enormous amounts of HP, pretty high defense, and their utility when combined with damage commanders. So in this video, we're going to take a look at how best to counter them. If you find any of this useful, please click the like button and please consider subscribing. Into the video. Now the reason I'm focusing on the unit itself rather than a specific commander build is you can see these units used with a multitude of commanders. Usually it's with a damage dealing commander. I've seen them used to great effect on Galadriel, or also Lurtz commonly used to be a problem, though less so now since he had a skill rebalancing. I've also seen them used to great effect with Sauron as well, so it'll be too much to look at all the different variations of commander, so instead we're going to focus on specifically the unit itself. Now the reason this unit is so useful when combined with a high damage commander is that commander damage from their damage skills scales with the amount of command, so the number of troops, that you have left in your army. Mumakil themselves have pretty high defense, but more importantly, an absolutely enormous amount of HP. This makes them very difficult to take down. And therefore, your commander can deal higher damage for longer, so you'll have very positive outputs in a lot of your fights if you're using a damage dealing commander with these units. Additionally, the Mumakil has some very beneficial skills that make them difficult to take down. Their large unit buff can give them up to 15% reduced physical damage, which means that a lot of good side, particularly in RP, can struggle to take these down, as they have primarily physical damage dealers. In addition, the Mumakil's charge skill also makes the Mumakil attack all enemies and allied units, which means that if you're running 3 units in your composition, it will attack all 3 to equal damage. And this is where we're going to start with our first counter, and that's looking at army composition. So what you're going to want to have is, seeing as the Mumakil will deal equal damage to all 3 of your units if you're running a triple army composition, or again 2 if you're running a double army composition, instead you're going to want to run just a simple monostack. This means fully filling your army to full command with only 1 unit. This will therefore reduce the amount of damage the Mumakil unit themselves can deal by 2/3, which will be very effective in dealing with them. Thankfully, there are a number of different units which are very effective in monostack to deal with the Mumakil. First up is the Bow Knight. This is an Elven tier 3 mounted unit which has a skill which can deal additional damage to large units, such as the Mumakil. In addition, this unit's mounted skill can allow you to reduce the damage received by up to 10%, so you can further reduce the damage taken from the Mumakil whilst outputting additional damage. These units are reasonably high damage already, so that boost to damage against large units will be a massive help. Secondly, there is also the Dwarven Master Thrower ranged unit. Now this also has the Giant Slayer skill to give you bonus damage of up to 50% against large units, but in addition to this they also have a skill called Battler's Bane, which when fully upgraded can grant an additional 20% bonus damage against melee units. Of course, with the Mumakil being classified as both a large unit and a melee unit, you gain the benefit of both of these advantages for a bonus 70% damage. Now the Master Thrower's damage range, with its attack being 9 to 29, can mean you get quite a wild spread in results. However, overall, with this 70% buff, they will be very effective in monostack at taking down Mumakil. My next recommended unit is actually another neutral camp based unit. This time we're going to take a look at the Oathbreaker, particularly when used when King of the Dead, though you do not necessarily need King of the Dead as they can be very effective with other commanders as well. But of course with King of the Dead they gain the benefit of healing as well. But the key reason we want to use the Oathbreaker against the Mumakil is the ethereal skill on this unit. This reduces the physical damage that they receive by 90%. So you'll be almost fully culling the amount of damage that you receive from the opposing Mumakai, though I would recommend to be a little bit wary as to when you use these Oathbreaker units, as if the opposing commander being used with the Mumakil is a focus damage dealing commander such as Sauron or Galadriel, that damage will kill your Oathbreakers extremely quickly as it is not physical based. So Oathbreakers are extremely effective if coming up against Mumakil with a physical damage commander, perhaps such as Dwalin or Lurtz, however not so effective when come up against focus damage. They're additionally effective because they also deal focus damage with their own attacks. Now focus damage, or same with any elemental damage, will ignore the physical damage reduction from the large unit skill on the Mumakil, and additionally it will just target the Mumakil's HP directly, so the high defense on the Mumakil is completely irrelevant. So focus damage from these units can be very effective again at dealing high damage. Fourth on my list of unit recommendations, I will recommend anti-cavalry units. So this will be either the Guard of the Tower for good side or the Halberdier for evil side. Perhaps surprisingly, as it's not specifically listed in the Mumakil's skills, they are also considered to be a mounted unit. Anti-cavalry training skills can provide a damage bonus of plus 30% when fully upgraded, and also reduce your damage received by 20%, both of which are very effective up against the Mumakil. And the last unit I can recommend is another neutral camp, unfortunately for the good side again, unless you're in non-roleplay, and that is the extremely speedy units, the Eagles. As I mentioned, they do have high speed, so they're primarily used for tiling by most people. However, they do have a particularly good skill here for taking down Mumakil, which is their flying skill. When fully upgraded, the flying skill can reduce their damage received from melee units by 60%. So not quite as much as the Oathbreakers, though you can get additional utility from the Eagles due to their high speed, meaning that you can also make your commander extremely efficient at fast tiling as well. Now I've looked at effective troops, let's take a look at what items can additionally give you that small edge up against the Mumakil. My first recommended item for evil side based commanders would be to use the Easterling Spear if you are using an evil men based commander. The Easterling Spear is useful as it provides bonus attack damage to your evil men, so if you combine this with the Halberdier, it can be very effective. However, the most important thing on the Easterling Spear is if it has the effect Bane of mounted units. Of course, as you'd imagine, what this gives you is bonus damage up against mounted units, which, as I mentioned earlier with the choice of the Halberdier to begin with, additional damage against mounted units will increase your damage to the Mumakil and give you more effective results. In a similar vein, for both good and evil side, though perhaps a slightly less available item, the Dragon Tooth Necklace, available to those who get the Dominator title or similar for winning their season, if it's a Season 3 or beyond season, you spend your 1,000 season reward points and you can get the Dragon Tooth Necklace, and one of the effects that can be on there is called Dragon Energy, which similarly provides bonus damage against mounted units. Whilst this might not be the most desired effect for the Dragon Tooth Necklace, with most seeking tactical mark for the pursuit, it can be very effective up against Mumakil. Now last but not least, let's take a look at commanders, which in particular can be very effective. So first up, we're going to take a look at King of the Dead. As I mentioned earlier, Oathbreakers are extremely effective due to that physical damage reduction. So we're going to very briefly run over King of the Dead. The reason we're going to use him is because primarily his Respect 5 skill, which when maximised does allow your Oathbreakers to be healed. This will reduce the number of losses you get from Oathbreakers and also increase the amount of focus damage you deal to the Mumakil. Of course, reducing your losses and increasing your damage against a unit that already counters, obviously an easy decision. The next commander that can be very effective is Galadriel using the Eagles, as I mentioned earlier. So Eagles can be very effective for that reduced physical damage, and the reason we're choosing Galadriel is as a focus damage dealing commander, similar to the Oathbreakers, she just cuts straight through that defense and hits the HP, and doesn't have any issues with the large unit buff. so we want to be using her as our damage dealing commander. Other damage dealing commanders like Dwalin or Dane can be effective, however I find a well-specced Galadriel, perhaps with around 600 focus, to be the most effective due to bypassing that 15% physical damage reduction through use of focus damage. Third up, I do like using Sauron also up against Mumakil. Whilst he can use a variety of the tank units I mentioned earlier, if you use him with a full spec of halberdiers in particular, that can be a fantastic combination. But the one thing Sauron offers, on top of the focus damage that you can build, similar to Galadriel, what he does offer also is Commander Madness, which can be useful. So if the Mumakils you're coming up against are using a physical damage dealing commander, or any kind of damage dealing commander to deal the majority of the damage, if Sauron inflicts Madness and they then inflict this damage upon their own Mumakil, that can be obviously very useful as well for reducing the number of enemy units. And last but not least, possibly my favourite commander for taking down Mumakil, we have Gimli. Now Gimli's very, very useful in this case for a variety of different reasons, and there's two different builds actually which can be really effective. First up is if you just make sure that the Respect 5 skill is fully maximised when taking the Mumaks on. What this gives you is bonus damage against melee units, but also you take 5% less damage from melee units as well. So if you combine this with some of the units I mentioned earlier, you can further strengthen the amount of damage that gets dealt. But this time, of course, you're reducing damage taken by your units, but you're increasing the damage dealt by Gimli himself, and he is a fantastic damage dealer. The second build which can be effective is any build which involves taking the skill Protect Elves. In this case, you don't have to run a monostack, because you can run a Dwarven tank unit to soak up the damage from the Mumakil, and then you can run a very large number of Bow Knights, safe in the knowledge that the Bow Knights will not take any damage until the Dwarf units have been fully killed, due to the Protect Elves skill. This way you can get a nice number of tanks in to take the damage, but you still have the high damage being dealt by the Bow Knights, as usually Bow Knights themselves can be reasonably flimsy and killed easily. With this combination you get the best of both worlds, you get good defense and the high damage. And with that, that's everything I have to offer. I really hope this has been useful for you, and if you come up against Mumakils again, you'll know how to take them down effectively. If this has been useful to you, as I said earlier, please hit the like button and please consider subscribing. It does make a massive difference for me and my channel. And if you choose to do so, I really hope to see you on the next one.